inside of the Wildcat Sports Club. We're here with Seamus Shanley of West Genesee history, as well as the Syracuse Orange on the offensive line, and of course, here in our community of Central and Upstate New York. So Seamus, first and foremost, happy to be inside, right? So definitely a good thing. How are you? How's things going?
Good. I appreciate you having me on the show tonight. I'm glad we were able to have it at the Wildcat, which is a known local bar for past and present community members. And again, like I said, thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's my honor and my privilege to be able to do this. You know that when it comes to the local community, local players, as well as, you know, when we talk about Syracuse history, it's easy for me because you're all welcome on the show. There's nobody that's not. There's always an open door policy. So West Genny, we've been doing shows here for almost 5 years now with Wildcat Sports Club and our West Genesee special, and Syracuse football, been covering it since I started 18 years ago. And so for me, this is a very easy kind of call to action because you're connected to both of them and you're connected to the community that we both grew up in, which, you know, we love so very much. So this is an easy sell to bring it all together and promote Seamus Shanley, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I'm happy to be the bridge for the younger generation to come that's coming up.
Yeah.
I was always raised that you wanna leave something better than when it first started. Like I said, my journey wasn't always easy, but I'm glad, like I said, I'm very proud of the achievements that I was able to accomplish. But like I said, I hope to inspire at least one person to chase their dreams.
And for you, do you feel like you've done that? Do you feel, just make sure, but do you feel like that is something that has happened? Have you met up with someone over these past few years that said that you were an inspiration, that maybe watching you, seeing you come out of this community, did something for them?
Oh, first and foremost, I think of my family. Obviously, my family's always been there for me, and just being there for me every step of the way, especially through the ups and downs of my time up at Syracuse. But in terms of the youngers, I always, especially still staying in contact with Coach Corley, stopping by practice once in a while. I'm always remembered as, he's the one that played for Syracuse football. Which, like I said, I like to stop around practice at least once a year just to show my face. Because again, I was that kid that looked up to Syracuse football and local athletics, and I was going through high school, middle school, and whatnot. And I just want to be that avenue to show that if you put your mind towards something, you can achieve it.
Yeah, you know, and you coming from West Genny, and, you know, right, like 12 minutes from the Dome, this is something that's extremely important. I mean, we were talking about it off the air, and we'll get into the local recruiting side of it in a minute, West Genny specifically, but for you, Seamus, you brought up Joe Corley. He was the first show that I ever did here at the Wildcat with West Genesee. Got in touch with him, asked him if he wanted to do it, got back to me right away, and he navigated with me through all COVID times and all of that, and we were able to do the spring season when they had to play in March. We were able to do an ode back to a regular season this time. It's been a pretty amazing road with Joe Corley because he was with me in the beginning, and now almost 5 years later, we're still together doing it. So what can you say about Joe Corley?
No, obviously, I still call him Coach. I still have tremendous respect for him and what he brings to the table in terms of, I mean, when he first started coaching, we was right around when my generation of talent was coming up, so it was kind of like we went through the ringer together.
Yep.
And Coach, and I know Coach won't mind me saying this, but we have a unique relationship in regards to, we always had, especially when I was going through my recruiting process, he basically was trying to give me the best options, but he also admitted to me numerous times that he didn't necessarily believe that SU was the best route for me.
Yeah.
But again, nothing but respect for him, and I will always cherish those moments we had together, especially in 2012 when we were able to win a Section 3 championship.
And, you know, having him as a coach, how would you describe his coaching style and just who he is?
Coach Corley is someone that he obviously he cares about winning, but he wants to do it the right way. It's not so much about the wins and losses. It's about how can I get the most out of Seamus Shanley, not only as an athlete but as a person, and I can develop him because unfortunately, for many, there's no longer football after high school.
Yeah.
So he's trying to instill characteristics into people that they can carry for the rest of their life and become better fathers, husbands, boyfriends, and again, just overall better people in the community.
And for you, with Coach Corley and all the work that he's done, what can you say about what he has been to this community of the West Genesee community out here in the Camillus area? How would you describe who he's been just as a person in the community?
I mean, like I said, Coach is someone that it's very well known that he's a player's coach.
Yeah.
He's someone that you might not understand some of his logics when you're in high school, especially being a 17, 18-year-old, 16-year-old kids that you're just like, why is coach doing things a specific way? But as you get older, and especially me, like when I got up to SU, I look back on it, like I said, when I used to visit more frequently, and I'm like, you know what, Coach, I understand why. I understand why. It was bigger than the game. And again, someone that's that passionate about the game of football and instilling characteristics in his players, I think there's no better person to set the example than him, especially in this area.
And playing at West Genesee and being a Wildcat, you come into the Wildcat Sports Pub and it's all around you. You're immersed in your school. What is the pride of West Genesee? How does that live on with you today?
Well, it's like they say, is once you're a Wildcat, you're always a Wildcat. I mean, the owners of this establishment that we're in, Heather and Dan, they both mean the world to me. Heather was my third grade teacher, and one of my favorites at that. We've gone through some tough times together, and just coming in here and looking at some of these pictures, you're able to look and be like, oh, I remember that, or I was part of that team, or it's just something that we'll forever be able to bring. Like I graduated in 2012 from high school. I can have someone that graduated 5 years after me, and as soon as they say, hey, I went to West Genesee, that's the bond that we'll always share. That once you're a Wildcat, you're always a Wildcat, and it's a bond with it.
And having that bond, when you look back on your teammates, who are some of the guys that to this day you're still close with?
Honestly, in terms of that 2012 football team, almost everyone. My best friend, obviously, one of my best friends is James Keller, he's my best man in my wedding.
Yeah.
Adam Ravinsky, Matt Nathan. The list goes on. Brother Melendez, Don Belko. I stay in touch with all of them, not because, like I said, it was more than just football. The blood, sweat, and tears that we shared together, off the field as well, in terms of the friendship and bond that we always, like their family is my family and vice versa. But so for the most part, I'm so close to almost everyone. Like if I see them in passing, the first thing we talk about is that 2012 team.
And when you look back to 2012 and winning a sectional championship, we know how difficult it is, and there's teams that have really come up and made things interesting here in our community. So when you look back on 2012 and that run, what stays with you the most from that run?
I would just say the bond that we had within the team. It wasn't so much like, hey, you're a starter, you're a second string, you're third string, or you're the superstar of the team and I'm not. It was more so like we're only as good as our weakest link, and we're all in this together. Again, unfortunately with me, it was more about the support I got from my teammates, because unfortunately I tore my knee my senior year in our homecoming game. So I was, again, unfortunately, done for the year. I had to get surgery, but just the support I got from Coach Corley, from my players, from my teammates, even the JV players, some of the kids I never met.
Yeah.
They came up to me and were like, hey man, keep your head up, like you're still a part of, you're just as much a part of this team off the field as you are if you were to be playing, and just the bond we have. Like they said, it's 10 years later, and we talk about it like it was yesterday.
When you go through an injury and there's a championship team in that sense, bring me into that. Like they said, you're still a part of this, you're still with us, and you know, obviously mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you're going through something, right? Because you want to be out there. Did you feel a part of the run? Did you feel a part of this group, despite the fact that you had to be on the sidelines for a portion of what was going on? Do you look back on that and still feel like that was yours too?
Yes, I mean, like I said, that luckily I had outstanding teammates that were able to like support me and go when I was going through those troubling times. But I also selfishly wanted to be out there for myself. Obviously, I knew I wanted to play football at the next level, so selfishly in that regards. And then I also wanted to do everything in my power to help the team, to elevate the team, and try to take the onus on myself to take us to the next level. But unfortunately, like I said, once I knew that I was done for the year, I had to do something, whether it was being a leader off the field. It was time for me to step up in a different way.
That coming from Seamus Shanley here at the Wildcat Sports Pub. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site on location every month at the Wildcat with our West Genesee specials, and this being one of those specials, talking about West Genesee from the past, bringing it to the present here on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. 7 days a week you can have indoor dining, and of course for takeout and delivery, call 315-487-2222. You mentioned Heather Tome, who's sitting off camera to our right, third grade teacher. I think Heather's like 23 years old right now, right? Heather, 23. So what was it like having her as your third grade teacher, and to be now as you're a grown man, to have her as a friend, that interesting bond you have with teachers and just the come up of that. So tell me, what was Heather like as a teacher, and what's it like now?
Honestly, she was someone that I looked up to on a daily. Like we went through some troubling times together. My grandfather passed away that year, and I remember like it was yesterday. And obviously, when you're that age, you remember glimpses like of being that age of people that inspired you and people that the good and the bad. I just, like I said, I vividly remember that day walking in and Mrs. Tome just giving me her shoulder to cry on, and ever since then I'm like, this is more than just the classroom. She truly cares about my well-being. She truly cares about her students' well-being, and it obviously shows with the establishment her and Dan have built here. And it's not just about bringing in revenue. It's about the atmosphere and bringing the community together. And like I said, I'm forever thankful for her, and to this day, she's still probably one of my favorite teachers.
You know, and I'm sorry that you went through this, but I just realized with you talking about this, we have something in common in an adversity way, is that when I was in elementary school and I was at Our Lady of Pompeii, I had both of my grandfathers pass away in '92. So Tom DeSantis, I call him my Mr. Feeney, he was the one that told me and helped me through it. So Heather was like your Mr. D. Yep. And so she helped you through that. I'm sorry about your grandfather.
Yeah, it made it easier knowing I had her in my corner. Obviously, my family, and I'm lucky to come from what I call good stock, and my father and my mother and my siblings and the support. But it was nice to be able to go to school and know that Mrs. Tome was going to be there for not only myself, but for my classmates as well.
So now, when you look back on it, favorite third grade memory?
I don't even know if we took our ELA that year. I don't remember. I remember we used to have a lot of snacks. I was a big boy then, so I liked eating. So
A lot of snacks.
A lot of snacks.
See, my third grade teacher, she was a Bengals, she is a Bengals fan still to this day, Mrs. Kuno. And they called her Killer Kuno. And every time, like every class before us would warn us, this lady's mean, she's evil, she's gonna be tough on you guys. and she was the nicest. She was scary, but when you actually were a good kid, she was the nicest person in the world. Still to this day, follows my work and gets in touch with me on social media, which is one of the greatest honors of my life. We used to have spelling bees, and I don't know if Heather did this, but she had M&Ms, and when you won the spelling bee, you pulled a hand down and you could take all the M&Ms out of there. So those were our snacks, but we had to work for those snacks.
Well, and I also remember Dan's a Phillies fan, and I'm a big Yankees fan, so I always used to tell Mrs. Tom, be like, hey, make sure you tell your husband, let's go Yankees. So
yeah. Well, and I remember in 8th grade, Todd Benware, where I went, he was a Yankees fan, and I'm a Diamondbacks fan. So everybody like razzed on me. How could you be a Diamondbacks fan? That's so stupid. They were 4 years in to the league, and everybody was ripping on me about it. And then here's something crazy: they win, and everyone's like, "Oh, you weren't a Diamondbacks fan." Everybody's downplaying it after making fun of me. Now they're not giving me credit. Todd Benware came into the cafeteria lunchroom line. He broke the line up, and he said, "Hey, I need to shake hands with somebody who sticks by their team, and I'm a man of my word." And in front of everybody, he was like, "Congratulations on the win. This is the only time I'm going to talk about it." And that was it. So
absolutely.
So how did Heather respond when you said, "Remind Dan that you're a Yankees fan"?
She just laughed. I mean, I was that obnoxious third grader that sports have always been my world. The Yankees, the New York Rangers, but I always try to get in the upper hand whenever I could. So
yeah, I mean, and the Yankees have had the upper hand the majority of the time, for the most part.
Yeah. Hopefully they can get back on the train, the winning train.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do here. So, what were the snacks that Heather brought in? Do we know? Did she bring the snacks, or did
I just remember snacks.
A lot of snacks.
Yeah, I don't.
There used to be a thing where there was like a designated parent that would have to bring something in. And there was always like the really awesome parents, and then there were the parents that really didn't try that hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's just say my lunch was pretty big. I was a big boy back then.
Yeah,
so.
How big were you in 3rd grade?
I mean, in 7th grade I was 270 pounds, so.
In 7th grade?
Yeah.
Wow. I've never been.
Oh, no, sorry, excuse me, I was 9th grade. So 9th grade I was 270 pounds in 9th grade, but.
Okay. That's me plus 100 plus pounds. So good for you, Seamus. So you're going through the recruitment process. You're at West Jenny. Bring me into how you got connected with Syracuse.
Well, first and foremost, obviously, I wasn't recruited big in high school. Obviously, I was undersized, especially for the position that I wanted to go play.
Yeah.
In terms of offensive lineman. We had Adam Rubinsky obviously ended up going to play at the University of Albany, which obviously we're both fantastic player. So it was always myself and him in terms of the offensive line that were always going through Coach Corley and see what our options were. And Adam had better grades than me. I wasn't the best student, but at the same time, I always knew that given me being undersized, I was always going to have to do something extra to be able to get the opportunity. So in terms of SU, obviously my father's employed up there.
Yeah.
He actually grew up with Coach Doug Marone. So
Okay.
he grew up in the Bronx. So it was kind of more so, hey, my son's looking to possibly come up here just to further his education. Because that's all it was at first. Let's try to get Seamus into a good school so I can get a good 4-year degree, and obviously Syracuse University degree speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And then once I was able to fulfill my end. So like I said, I remember vividly going up there with Coach Marone. With Coach Marone, myself, and my father, we had a meeting. And he basically put a piece of paper in front of me. He's like, "Do you really want this?" And I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "How bad do you want it?" He was like, "This is what you got to do to get in." And it was more so like grades that I needed to get my grades up to fulfill that so-called requirement. Because again, Coach Marone was very honest with me. He was like, "Listen, we can do our best to get you in. If you don't fulfill the football side of it, that's okay. If we just want to be able to get you into the school." But again, like I said, I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. But in terms of that connection, but in terms of the recruiting process, I wasn't really recruited heavily in high school, and I think it was more so because I was undersized, and like we touched upon prior, New York, unfortunately back then, and it's still a problem now. It's not a heavily recruited area, especially for local colleges. But again, I was very, like I said, thankful for the opportunity, and I ran with it.
And, and we look at that opportunity that you had, and you went through, I mean, obviously, like you said, the championship run for your team 2012, you were hurt. So, that in and of itself, too, in the recruiting process, which has some adversity at times, to try and get recruited while you're hurt, too, was something that you had to go through. I mean, hindsight 2020, bring me back to the fact that you got to get a Syracuse education, play on the football field for Syracuse, and at the same time, you were in a place where during your recruitment, you were not 100% healthy.
Yep. So like I said, I was behind the 8 ball already with my knee injury coming out of high school, and that's not even with Syracuse. That was just with any recruiting, like going to play college football anyway. I was undersized. Like I said, I was consistently 275, 280 throughout high school. And then I went to strength and motion and training with Coach Parker, who's now obviously he's strength and conditioning coach up at SC now. I lost 25 pounds, so I went into SC really undersized. I went in there like 5'11", 6 foot, 250 as an interior offensive lineman, which I'm going against Deion Goggins, Jay Bromley, Eric Kroon. I'm going against some big boys, and obviously guys that played at the next level in the NFL for a little bit. And like I said, I've always been dealt the cards where I've always been counted out. Whether it's by my own teammates, which I'm someone that lives, just like Coach Schaefer used to say, control the controllables, right? I can never help who believed in me, who didn't, but I can control Shanley's actions. And there's been I would be lying to you right now if there was numerous times up at SU that I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm getting surgery every offseason and putting my body through the ringer, and I'm not necessarily getting rewarded for it. But I'm someone that once I have a goal set in mind, I'll do whatever it takes to get it done.
Seamus Shanley here with us at the Wildcat Sports Club, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, exclusively on site with West Genesee Athletics every single month, and celebrating West Genesee Athletics as well as the Wildcat, and celebrating Syracuse football here with Seamus today, and appreciate it so very much. Seamus, Doug Marrone transitioning into Schaefer, a D coordinator while you're there becomes the head coach. How did you deal with that?
I mean, me personally, I always dealt with Coach Schaefer just because I was on the scout team, the offensive scout team. So when he was the coordinator with Marrone, I always got to deal with Coach Schaefer. And like I said, I had a good relationship with him and his coaching staff. And it wasn't for the guys that are already there. It wasn't necessarily the transition portion of it. It was kind of more so that we never really saw it coming in terms of the quick transition. But like I said, I have nothing but good things to say about Coach Schaefer and how he ran that program. I can say that I wish we won more when I was there. I know my sophomore year we went to the Texas Bowl, which was fun, but for his sake, I wish we could have won more for him because, like I said, he's one of those guys that he would do anything for his players.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is I don't think people understood how well Schaefer recruited and how well his staff was. Tim Lester is at Western Michigan as a head coach right now, and he's done only what him and P.J. Fleck have done, which is win the only 2 bowl games ever for Western Michigan. And so you have that. You have Joe Adams, been at St. Anselm for a long time. DeAndre Smith is at Texas Tech as the running backs coach, helped Michael Carter into the NFL, helped Darwin Thompson into the NFL, and so has done a great job with that. Was integral part of the 2,500-yard back 25-60 for Mo Neal at Syracuse. He's the reason why Mo came to Syracuse. And then you have Bobby Acosta, who won a national championship at IMG. Now he's at Del Valle in Texas, and he's done a great job and been in a bunch of places. Fred Reed's been in Eastern Michigan. His teams have been doing better. We got Jake Moreland, who's now with the Jets. And I don't want to miss anybody here. I'm trying to think of everybody. Clark Lee is over coaching Vanderbilt now after being at Notre Dame. Chuck Bola has found success since moving on. Scott Shaver's been successful, came back and beat Syracuse as a D coordinator for Middle Tennessee. So we look at all these names and what they've done. They have been an amazing staff, and I can't say enough great things about the staff that Schaefer had. So I think, fans might look at it and say, okay, the win-loss record wasn't great, but you guys were spoiled. They recruited well. They did well. They're doing well at programs all over the country now, including Schaefer. So I think they kind of proved that Syracuse fired them a little bit too soon, in my opinion.
No, and I agree. And we, unfortunately, people don't realize there is a business side of college athletics.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't, we can sit here and be and I truly mean it, that Coach Schaefer truly cared about, and his staff cared about our well-being more as life after football. But unfortunately, you're not judged that way. You're judged by the wins and losses, especially with Syracuse being in the ACC and all these other programs up and coming. They thought it was necessary to make the change. You and I can sit here and say we don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy to see that all of them are doing well for themselves, because, like I said, they truly cared about us as players and trying to develop us into the men that we deserve to be.
Yeah, and in doing that, when you went through that transition from Marone to Schaefer, bring me into what actually went down. Because there were stories that he said nothing, there was that he left a text message, there was that you guys found out and then he had a meeting after you had found out. What really happened when Doug Marone left Syracuse?
So I actually found out through my best friend, Jimmy Keller, who's a diehard Bills fan. I just remember waking up to a text message from him, and he basically said, hey, turn on ESPN. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, Marone's gone. I go, what do you mean? And he's like, no, Marone's going to the Bills. And then as soon as I turned my TV on, I saw it right across the bottom, Doug Marone to the Bills. And then all the players were texting, we didn't see this coming. We knew there was a possibility that, obviously, Coach Marone came from the NFL. So we knew there was a possibility, but we didn't think it was going to be that, now. So we didn't know. There was rumors that his name was in the ring in terms of head coaching jobs going to the NFL at the time. So we were kind of shocked in that regards. We understand that he's got to, at the end of the day, he's got to do what's best for him and his family. We understand that aspect. But kind of how it went about was kind of shocking. Because then we got a text from some of his assistants that he wanted to have a meeting with us, in which basically, like a last minute meeting, we all went down to Manly, and Coach Marone walked in and he just told us, he's like, basically thanking us for everything that we've done, and that Syracuse will always hold a special place in his heart for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it was very, like I said, you couldn't really react to it until you saw him on the sideline in Buffalo. Because I know I wasn't one of them, but a lot of my teammates went up to St. John Fisher for their training camp the first year, and he got them right on the field, and he took care of them, which was nice.
And so, to go through something like that, we talked about it off the air, how they say you commit to the program, not to the coach. But you've been through it. I think, you play for a coach. You play for the coaching staff. You play for the people you built a bond with. Somebody gets fired or leaves and somebody else comes in. You don't necessarily know them. Now, you knew Scott because he was one of two people that stayed, him and Tim Dowse. But everybody else was gone. So when you lose a head coach, what did you go through personally? Did you think, oh my gosh, I got a transfer, I was lied to? How did you handle it? And you didn't have the transfer portal. You didn't have a place you could jump into, have people get to you immediately. There was no restrictions. You could play anywhere. A coach couldn't hold you back from going in conference, out of conference, on the schedule, off the schedule. In today's transfer portal, it's college football free agency, you didn't have it. So going back to that time when Doug left, did you think, well, I got to go too, or how did you handle it?
I would be lying to you if it didn't cross my mind a couple times. I'm a homegrown guy. My family, obviously, like that's why Syracuse was awesome because of the opportunity. But more importantly, I was able to stay home with my family, be close to my family. My family is everything to me, and those who are close to me know that. But at the same time, like I knew. It was kind of like I said prior. I knew that whoever came in next, I was going to have to work double as hard to even get their attention. I'm a walk-on from West Genesee High School. I'm undersized. I'm not even, at the time, I'm not even on the depth chart. So I know we all were kind of pulling for Coach Schaefer because that's when the rumors started coming about him possibly taking over the program because there wouldn't be too much change, but I thought about it, but I'm just like I would be defeating what my overall goal was. I wasn't someone that wasn't trying to get in the SU just to get a 4-year degree. I believed in myself. I knew that if I put the time in, and the sacrifices that I would achieve it myself. And like I said, I'm very fortunate enough, and I'm fortunate enough for those who doubted me, to be honest with you. I know I've had numerous, I'm not going to name names, but I've had numerous teammates come up to me saying the best that I would be is a backup. And I look back at that now, and it was just adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, you know, and I love that, right? We don't do it for the haters, but when we do it, there's an extra smirk in our smirk, because we remember what they said. And, you know, coming from West Genesee, you're on a very short list of anybody that's going to make it to Syracuse from West Gen. What does that mean to you to carry the torch? And do you feel like you want to find the next guy that Syracuse could take from West Gen?
No, absolutely. As we both know, it's not very common that you have local high school talent going to big time. Not even football, but just any sport. I mean, obviously this is a lacrosse area, first and foremost. So that, like back when I was in high school, you had a lot of athletes, both male and female, going to big time lacrosse programs, which are deservingly so.
Yeah.
But I was glad that I was able to put, and it wasn't just me. You had people like Matt Nathan, who he ended up going to St. John Fisher, but I'll be the first, and I told Matt this numerous times that he had Division I talent. You had Adam Vinci going to Albany. You had a ton of talent on that 2012 team that if recruiting was as popular as it could be around here, they would have a chance.
Yeah.
But I was, in terms of leading the way amongst others with myself from that year, I'm glad that I was able to carry the torch out and give an avenue to the younger generation, showing that, hey, don't listen to the outside noise or those who doubt you. If you want to do something, set your mind to it and achieve it. Because anything's possible, as long as you're given that opportunity.
I just got a message from Joe Corley. I let him know that we're talking about him right now. So always great to connect with West Genesee. Love doing it here at the Wildcat. It's just perfect sense. It's right down the road, and obviously called the Wildcat Sports Pub. It was built here for a reason. The colors are here for a reason. Where we are on the newer side with the giant TV and the stage and everything that's been built here, Heather and Danny have done a tremendous job doing good by the Wildcats. West Jenny doing good by the Wildcat Sports Pub. This entire community doing well. And so for those that are here that play cornhole and pitch and volleyball and everything that goes on, everyone that comes out to our events and supports West Genesee, there's so much good here. And, you know, I know you're a regular here, I'm a regular here, you know, and I want to take a moment to just thank the Wildcat Sports Club and just what it means to you as we get to celebrate, you know, everything that goes on here at the Wildcat, and, you know, some awesome pitch players having some fun here tonight as well.
Well, obviously this is what it's all about, you know? Well, I mean, Camillus is, the way I look at it is Camillus, the community of Camillus is the way I look at it is a country within itself.
Yeah.
Everyone, for the most part, everyone knows each other, right? When you tell people you're from Camillus, depending on where you go, they're like, oh, that's right outside of Syracuse, right? Yeah. And that's because of people like Dan and Heather who've helped build establishments like this that can help connect the community members. But again, like I said, this is what it's all about. West Genesee Athletics and West Genesee School District itself, and I guess it means the world to me, and always will. I purposely, like I said, I live in the area still, and I want my kids to be able to when I'm fortunate to have kids, I want my kids to be able to experience the West Genesee way, because there is such thing as the West Genesee way.
You know, and that's the thing that I find so awesome is I did not go to school at West Genesee. I grew up on the north side, and so I didn't come to school out here, yet for almost 5 years now, I've been treated like an honorary Wildcat. This community has been incredible. My high school show that I built, the template of having a high school show at a local business so we can support and utilize helping the business, helping the school, helping the kids, helping the families. That template was built here at the Wildcat with West Genesee. And if not for the community of West Genesee and for the Wildcat Sports Club, it doesn't exist. So I'm eternally grateful to Heather and Danny and everybody over at Mike Burns and the entire athletic department at West Genesee, because it's a school I drove by a million times to go visit my buddy growing up, James, and now it's a place that I honestly feel like they made me a Wildcat and they treat me as such, and it's remarkable, and the love that I've gotten from the West Genesee community is second to none, really.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it was what I vividly remember about my time up at SU is the messages that I used to get through Facebook from some of my old teachers, just saying that how proud they were of me, and that they know that I went through some troubling times growing up, and just that they support me. Like I said, they're proud of me, and they're glad to see me succeeding in the way that I envision it for myself. So that meant the world to me, and like I said, I still stay in touch with them today. And that's what I mean by the Wildcat way. Like, Matt, near or far, once you're a Wildcat, you're always a Wildcat.
That coming from Seamus Shanley. And Seamus, you talked about having kids. You're going to be getting married this year in August of 2022, August 2022. So let's talk about the lucky lady a little bit and why this is the right one.
I'll be honest, I don't even know where to begin.
Let's shout her out for those who don't know her name.
Yep, so Alyssa, soon to be Alyssa Shanley. Alyssa Plate, it's her maiden name. No, I don't know, I really don't know how to explain it. When I first set eyes on Alyssa, I knew she was the one.
Where'd you meet?
So I met her, she's from Waterloo. Yeah. So our first...
Great outlets out there, by the way. Mrs. Fields is still out there. So.
Yeah, so I met her. Our first date was down there in Geneva, the movie complex.
Yeah.
And I pulled up in my dad's minivan, so I'm like, oh, here we go. But
yeah.
Like I said, ever since I couldn't have a better support system in regards to her. And
I'm pulling up a picture. Can I show this one? So there they are, the happy couple. Alyssa will be a Shanley in just a few months.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's got very, very similar characteristics to myself. She's in the nursing field. She just became an RN, and I'm very proud of her. And obviously, going through this pandemic, she's on the front line, and I couldn't be more proud.
And let everybody know what you're doing as well.
I'm a member of the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, and I'm a proud member of it.
So a member of the Sheriff's Office protecting our community. And so you're protecting the community in your way, Alyssa's protecting it in her way. And kind of cool to have this conversation because my girlfriend is a CRNA. So she was a nurse, became a CRNA, and so shout out to Carrie. But I know she's on the front lines all the time, and dealing with a COVID patient today. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that both fields are very demanding jobs, and just having that support system from her, I will forever be thankful for her, and I couldn't, like I said, I can never pay her back for what she's done for me, bringing out the best in me and being supportive of everything that's going on, through good and bad.
So out in Waterloo, you guys go on a date to the movie theater. What movie did you see?
We always forget the name of it. We always forget, but I remember Mark Wahlberg was the main character, so I could tell you that much. But
was it one of the Transformer movies? Was it Ted?
we don't remember the exact.
Wicked Smart? You know, I mean, it had to be Ted, maybe. Maybe it was Ted.
Yeah, maybe, but no, it was more. It was awesome because we clicked right away.
Yeah.
Obviously, she.
Was there a build-up to this first date? Was there like?
We had a mutual friend, and then we started texting, and a week after we started talking, we was like, hey, do you want to go see a movie and meet each other in person? And which was nice because we.
So just a week. So you must have some game. Something. Must have something.
I don't know about that. I guess I like to say I tricked her, and now she's stuck with me. But
yeah. How did you ask her to marry you?
So obviously we both are family-oriented people. So I know she's from Waterloo, which is a smaller community than Camillus. So I obviously got both our families together to meet at a restaurant called the Cobblestone down in Geneva, where her mother works. And I walked her down the boardwalk down there. Asked her to marry me, and then I surprised her by bringing her to the restaurant, and all the families did. So it was a very, very heartwarming moment, and a day I'll never forget.
Do you remember what you said to her? Did you have like a speech plan? Did you have something in your mind that you wanted to make sure you didn't forget to say?
I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember it was something along the lines that through the good and the bad, that we're always going to have each other's backs, and I wouldn't want to do this life with anyone else. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to have her by my side.
Did you pick out what ring she needs to get you when you all get wed? Are you going to do something crazy?
I give her some ideas.
Okay, all right. Because I feel like I tell people, I was like, my college ring from Marry What I Love. And so it's got to top this, which to me is like my Super Bowl ring. So it's got to be better than that. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what people forget. Like, some men like us don't just want a typical band. We want something to look like it's ours. Yep. Be unique.
Yep.
So I brought up the idea of like a Thanos ring, where I would have 6 different colored stones on a gold ring, and then just snap my fingers. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Throw that her way as well. So shout out to Alyssa, appreciate you, and obviously you found yourself a good one, and then I have to meet Alyssa to decide if she's a good one. So I can't speak for you. I got to go off on what you say.
You will.
I know you're a catch, so
you'll definitely say I outkicked my coverage.
Yeah, outkicked your coverage. Okay, fair enough. So before I let you go, Seamus Shanley, Wildcat Sports Pub, celebrating West Genny, the Wildcat, and obviously here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, celebrating Syracuse football. Local recruiting, I have banged this drum like crazy. I have covered the likes of West Genny, Liverpool, CNS, CVA, Maine Endwell, Union Endicott, Shenango Forks, Windsor, Aquinas Institute, so on and so forth. It is imperative, Baldwinsville, it's imperative for me that we find the talent here and we don't let it get out of here. We're not seeing that from the staff that's there now at all. What can you say about being a local kid, a local recruit, on a short list from West Genny that made it to Syracuse? How important is it to recruit locally, and what do you want to say to the current staff about not letting a kid get out of here like a Stevie Scott, like a Servassier Dennis, like a Mike Washington Jr., like a John Phillips, and so on?
I mean, you gotta first and foremost, I mean, plain and simple, you gotta keep talent at home. That's how you build your program. My personal opinion, one of the many things that helps build a program is your local talent and your alumni base. Obviously, I mean, like I said, I came in under Marone. Marone was big on the Northeast, so you got guys from local talent from Syracuse, you had talent from New York City area, you guys from New Jersey, from Pennsylvania. So you had guys from all over the Northeast area. But in terms of local talent, when you have someone that's, I guess, talented enough to play at that level, you have to do whatever it takes to keep them home. Because my generation of athletes, like I said, you're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to football specifically. We don't have the luxury, especially with the weather, we don't have the luxury to be able to play football all year round, right? You have a lot of guys that play that, even with being, having their major sport play being football, they played hockey or basketball, lacrosse, especially with being at West Genesee, lacrosse obviously, their reputation speaks for itself. But being someone like, I can only speak on my experiences, but not only was I undersized and going in at a prestigious athletic program like SU, but you already feel like you're already behind the 8 ball, especially when you're seeing like your freshman class, you got guys from Georgia coming in, guys from Florida, guys from all down south on the West Coast, and then there's Seamus Shanley or Nick Robinson coming from Camillus and Baldwinsville, New York. So you're already behind the 8 ball in regards to those players, because like, oh, you played New York football, that's nothing compared to what I'm used to.
You know, and I think we need to get rid of that notion. You know, Dorsey Levens, Mike Washington Jr., Latavius Murray, John Phillips, Noah Jordan Williams, Greg Paulus, yourself, and Stevie Scott, Sebastian Dennis, as I had mentioned, and on Tyler Days, Tyler Rouse. The list goes on and on and on and on. Sierra Torrance now at CBA. And so I feel like we can't miss the ball on these players because Rutgers is recruiting them, the Big Ten in general. Nick Saban recruited Derek Gore, who's now with the Chiefs, heading to the divisional round of the playoffs for the AFC. And Derek Gore's from little Syracuse, New York. So, you know, it's something that boggles my mind that we don't do it. I bang the drum to do it. I will continue to bang the drum to do it because I will always support the kids here, yourself, and everybody else. And if I could do nothing else in this world by the time I'm done, I hope to God that I helped the kids in our community of Central and Upstate New York have a better chance at something.
No, and absolutely. I mean, like we talked about prior to the show, I mean, my senior year, when I was fortunate enough to earn a starting spot out of camp, 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen that were starting were from New York. You had Amari Palmer, who was the right tackle from Long Island. I was the right guard from from Camillus and Syracuse area. Trudeau was the only one who was playing center at the time, was from PA. Then you had Nick Robinson from Beagle and Ivan Foy from downstate in New York City area. So the way I look at it is football is a black and white sport. It's either you can play or you can't. There's not, just because you play Division III football or Division II football doesn't mean you're not a good football player. Obviously, that's a different conversation, but if you can play football and they feel like you're a program type player, there's my personal opinion, there's no excuse to let local talent go. Because unfortunately, it's not as popular as down in these other schools down south where you can, out of the senior class, 10 out of the 12 seniors could be going to a Big Time Division I program.
Yeah, Danny, tell me, getting some love, and I like that I get off camera. I get the beat to the chest and the peace sign. So, Danny, not only the owner of the Wildcat, also a rapper from the '80s, which I appreciate. That's some Sammy Sosa. That's a little bit of Sammy Sosa there. So I like that. So the reality to me of this local recruiting is that I can't say we because you and I would have done better, but the current staff needs to do better. What would be your message to Dino and the staff right now?
I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and ridicule them just because people on the outside looking in really don't know the amount of time and effort and work that goes on behind closed doors with players and coaches. But like I said, my message would be plain and simple: is if someone can play ball they can play ball. And if it'd be one thing if they weren't recruiting a specific player from this area because they didn't envision them being a program type player and not fitting into the family atmosphere. I understand that, but just because someone's in New York State playing football, that should not be held against them. If you could play football, you could play football.
Hey, you know what? Why would you piss on New York State when your team hails from New York State and Buffalo recruits New York State better than you do? So, before we hop out of here, Seamus, we're going to do two final things. Second to last thing, bring me into your first moment on the field, working your way up. Like you said, chip on your shoulder, people that thought you couldn't make it. You get on the field at Syracuse, you go out there, you're not just a backup, you're playing in the game, you're starting in the game. Bring me into the moment you realized your dream.
I remember, like I said, I remember that day like it was yesterday when I got the nod, only because it was a special moment between my father and I. I remember Coach Schaefer held a press conference that we were heading into game week, and I knew, obviously, I got the nod from that I was going to be starting, but then he went out to the press and gave the starting lineup, this and that, and I knew he was probably going to had some questions as to, hey, you have a walk-on starting at right guard, and you're in a Power 5 conference, this and that, and like I said, I watched a little bit of the press conference. I tried not paying too much attention to it, because like I said, I would just add fuel for the fire, but more importantly, I remember I called my dad, I told him, and we had that special moment where we started crying together, just tears of joy, and that he was obviously proud of me, and he was like a little kid himself, calling everyone he knew. He was like, oh my God, my son's starting at a Power 5 Division I football program. So that day was very special to me, and then I remember the actual game day. So obviously we leave the hotel, and we're walking through the quad, and I see my father, and he comes up to me and just gives me a good old nod, like, it's go time. And then a lot of his colleagues were coming up to me, giving me a hug and congratulating me, and it was tough because I was trying to stay focused, obviously. I mean, we're playing Rhode Island that year. We opened up the season against Rhode Island in the Dome, which, yes, Rhode Island's a Division I AA football team, but at the same time, I worked tirelessly to get to this moment. I'm not going to let it get taken away. So I was kind of staying in the zone, and then I remember I put my phone away. I didn't listen to music at first because I was having everyone text me and try to call me and blah blah blah. And I was known as that local kid that was able to start at a Division I football program, especially when they did the emphasis on the big screens there. I had people that I haven't talked to since high school sending me videos and like, I'm so proud of you, it's awesome, this and that. And it was just awesome because in the players' entrance, I made sure to say that I was from Camillus, New York. I didn't say Syracuse, and obviously from the area, but to say that I was from Camillus, New York, that was a very, very proud moment for me.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, in those intros to be able to say Camillus, New York, and have West Jenny there, I would imagine that if Syracuse had more local players that simply can just play the game, that those fans wouldn't be leaving in the third quarter with 10 minutes left, and there'd probably be bigger fan base sections. I'm sure the Seamus Shanley section was rocking, and I know that I was there covering the game, so I'm sure that, you know, nobody left when you were playing, and there was probably a very different feel to, I mean, to say, hey, this is our kid, this is our West Genesee kid, this is Camillus, this is our native, this is our Central New York guy, and for your father and your family, this is our son.
And like I said, it was, at first I was kind of like, oh, I did it. So like I said, I remember I walked in to the house, and I just broke down in my mom's arms. And I owed it all to them, to my mom, my father, my siblings, because they kept me afloat when there's, in numerous times when I wanted to give up on myself, and obviously that's very unlike me, but like when you're going through the motions, you sometimes get stuck in the moment. You don't see the bigger picture, and like I said, I was very proud. I'm very proud of my personal accomplishments, but it was the bigger picture for me, and it always will be. I was happy that I was able and I love Nick Robinson. Nick's amazing football player, amazing person, but he went up there on a scholarship. So he was one of their guys that they offered, and I didn't have the luxury of being a scholarship player, so I was already behind the 8 ball. So to be able to set the standard of like, hey, just because you're a walk-on doesn't mean you can't play. Doesn't mean that you're just gonna be on the team to be on the team. Like if you want to achieve something, do it. And like I said, I'm just glad that I can. And I hope to inspire. I hope I inspire at least one person to be able to be like, this is what I want to do in my life, and go chase those dreams.
You know, and you see, like you said, walk on to making the team to getting to play to starting. And we just saw in the national championship in the college football playoff, walk on to starter to champion to MVP, Stetson Bennett of Georgia. What does it mean to you to be a walk-on that became a starter, and then you watch a guy like Stetson Bennett in the SEC in Georgia go from preferred walk-on to being a starter and now a national champion? It's got to be a special world to not just be a college football player, but to go from being a walk-on to being a starter and getting to realize that dream. So I'm sure that Stetson's story probably means something special to you.
No, and absolutely. Honestly, I remember as soon as I found that out, I posted about it in regards to him. And obviously, we all come from different stories, right? His story is obviously different than mine, but in terms of the walk-on side of it, it's very unique and similar. But that's something that he personally will never be able to take that away from him. The fact that he was, like myself, told numerous times, hey, you're a walk-on, not only you're a walk-on, but you're at a top program in the country in Georgia, and now you're a national champion. You're a starting quarterback, you overcome the obstacles, and you're a national champion, and no one's ever going to be able to take that away from you.
No, and there's some awesome things coming through here. Some messages here. Your best friend, James Keller III, your best man coming up. He said, love you, kid. Would have won states if Moose was healthy. Kid gave his all. Trust me, Alyssa keeps you in line. Josh said, my dude. So some nice messages coming through. Our final piece here, rapid fire. I'm going to let you put me on the hot seat. You've answered all my questions. You've been awesome about it. Seamus Shanley, CNY native, Camillus native, to West Genesee, to Syracuse, from walk-on to starter. Seamus Shanley here in our community. Loving that you are one of the names that we get to celebrate here at the Wildcat and in the country in general as a walk-on, as a native, and to continue to be someone that represents Central and Upstate New York, and the fact that talent does come out of here, and it should not and cannot be overlooked, and on my watch it won't be. So with that being said, go ahead. 3 questions. Put me on the hot seat because you've answered all mine.
Okay, so besides SU, do you follow any other college football programs?
I do. I cover very closely the ACC and the American and then Notre Dame. So like 27 schools on average, and then new schools coming into the AAC. But if I had to pick one, I would say the 2 teams that I got really close with over the years, I would say UCF and Cincinnati, because I felt like UCF deserved to be in the college football playoff, and I was in Cincinnati when they won the championship this year for the American Athletic, and made sure that I was a part of history there, and loved seeing Luke Fickell get there. And I was the one, Sports Illustrated and other organizations wrote stories and took credit for this, but I asked Nick Saban the question about Cincinnati, where he said they deserve to be here. So thank you, Nick Saban. Thank you, Luke Fickell. And I'm a big old Cincinnati and UCF fan because, you know, it kind of just happened out of my love and my desire for seeing fairness be fair and right be right. So, you know, I kind of became a fan just for defending them. And also Memphis, they have fantastic barbecue. So the Tigers, some good stuff. And I'm a big Mike Norvell fan, and he's at Florida State now. So.
All right. Besides sports, what are some of your hobbies?
Oh, they're all things I want to do. Screenwriting, acting. I've gotten to act. Got to work on screenwriting a little bit for college. got to act in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as an extra. And was in that movie with Andrew Garfield in that one as Spider-Man. We got to be part of the second unit in Rochester. And then comedy, I want to do stand-up, and music. I've been singing my whole life and written about 40 songs at this point, so there's a lot of things that I'm diving into.
You follow hockey?
I do.
Who's your favorite team?
Number one team, the Ducks, because of the Mighty Ducks movies. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I'm also a Kraken fan.
Awesome.
Because I wanted to be like a ground level fan, like came in when they came in. So I like the Seattle Kraken, love the name. I wanted them to be the Kraken, so I'm happy that it ended up happening. So with that being said, for West Genesee, for Syracuse, for the Wildcat Sports Pub, for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, this has been yet another special on-site, on location of almost 5 years being here with the Wildcat. Thanks to Danny and Heather Tome. Thanks to the entire team of the Wildcat here. Thanks to the Shanley family and everybody that has been a part of this. To Seamus, myself, Dan Tortora, have a great night, stay safe, and know that if you are a local kid in this community, you always have a home on Wake Up Call. Seamus, thank you, sir.
No, thank you. It really means a lot.
I'll talk with you all soon. Be well.